I don't think right-wing social engineering is any more desirable than left-wing social engineering. There are things you can do to improve Medicare.
But not what Paul Ryan is suggesting, which is completely changing Medicare.
I think that is too big a jump.
Newt Gingrich can't run far enough from his Ryan-bashing comments on Meet the Press. First, he tried to take them back, then he apologized for them, and now he's denying he was even talking about Ryan to begin with.
My wife, Callista, has known him since he was an intern. I mean, we're big fans of Paul Ryan. It was not a reference to Paul Ryan. There was no reference to Paul Ryan in that answer.
Really? You were answering a question about Paul Ryan, but not referring to Paul Ryan? Come on, that's just pathetic. First there was the flip-flopping, then the groveling, and now the latest strategy is, of course, just to deny reality. That's Republican 101. But luckily, he had someone to step up to his defense. Here she comes again, the Mama Grizzly.
There's got to be the preparation on all the candidates' parts for those gotchas. That's what the lamestream media is known for nowadays, is the gotcha trip-up questions, and just have to be prepared for it and overcome it. Don't even participate in that goofy game that's been played now for too many years with the leftist lamestream media trying to twist a candidate's words.
That's classic Palin. Blame the media for quoting someone accurately. You know, they keep calling it the lamestream media. First of all, who says that? What are you, a third grader? That's the lamestream media. Second, you know what's lame? Crying about the press asking you the simplest questions of all time. These people are running for president, and they cry like babies the minute they screw something up. Oh, the media made me do it. They asked me a question that prompted a dumb answer from me. Why'd they do it to me? Look, if you can't take the heat, then get out of the race. Which is what it looks like might be happening to Gingrich anyway. Because his Ryan comments have now hit him where it counts the most, his pocketbook. His real problem is not Rush Limbaugh or the Wall Street Journal beating him up. It's that he's losing his one advantage, money. Remember, Newt raked in $32 million between 2009 and 2010. But after all of his missteps, Newt's fundraisers are apparently running for the hills. The Huffington Post reports that in the 24 hours after appearing on Meet the Press, Newt lost 13 of the 18 co-chairs involved in an upcoming fundraising event. One Republican strategist tells the HuffPost, quote, the last 48 hours have called into question if Newt can even make it to July 4th, because his fundraising is going to dry up. And that's why you see the panic in his eyes as he goes on a sad, sad apology tour. All right, joining me now, MSNBC political analyst Richard Wolffe and Huffington Post reporter Alex Wagner, who's also, by the way, an MSNBC analyst. All right. Great to have you guys here.
Thanks, Cenk.
Thanks, Cenk.
All right. Richard, let me start with you. I mean, I know the Republicans do this all the time, where they just deny reality. That led to the hilarious line from Stephen Colbert, nobody can forget. You know, reality has a well-known liberal bias. Right. See, I almost forgot it. But anyway, but I mean, is this an effective strategy to say, don't believe your lying eyes, even though I'm on tape, believe me instead?
Well, it's not effective because he's made himself look weak and inauthentic. In fact, he's turned himself into Mitt Romney. Who would have predicted that Newt Gingrich would have had to have pulled a Romney on us and denied what he said or denied his previous positions? The irony here is that Gingrich, of course, told the truth, that actually the reasonable position is not to go for radical change on either side. He's given a gift to all Democrats, because if Ryan's plan is too radical for Gingrich, then it's too radical for most voters in America. But on top of that, the echoes of the 90s are just unmissable. When you have Gingrich going out saying that somehow he didn't mean to talk about Paul Ryan, even though it was a Paul Ryan question, it just makes you remember what kind of arguments they made about Bill Clinton and his legal quibbling and why he couldn't tell the truth. He's doing it all over again, except he's the subject of his own movie.
Right. Well, he also attacked Clinton for having an extramarital affair while having an extramarital affair.
It's funny you should bring that up.
Right. Oh, funny. Right. I know. Alex, so let's talk about those funders. That's the real analysis here, because it's one thing to get criticized by the lamestream media or by conservative media, but it's another thing when you lose the money, right?
Right. I think that there's two sides to this coin. One is the public perception, which, you know, Gingrich is trying to counter with pictures of Iowa supporters coming out and, you know, rallying to his speeches. But the other side is that there's some real blowback from the GOP base, and that includes funders. And we know, just based on previous numbers, that the donor base has been slow to come to this race. There's a lot of hesitancy all over the table table in terms of who's going to endorse whom and who's going to actually pony up with some dollars. The fact that, as John Ward from the Huffington Post reported today, that 13 of the 18 donors he had lined up for a Southern fundraiser were bailing is a testament to just how completely volatile this entire race is. I mean, on Saturday, it's we love you, Newt, and on Tuesday, it's an ugly divorce. I think it's a testament to people not knowing who's going to be the lead horse in this, and fundamentally the candidates not having a real grasp on the base and their own messaging.
And Richard, I think most of all it speaks to the spectrum shift, not in the country, but in Washington, D.C. Because Newt Gingrich, for all of his flip-flops, in the end, his actual position on Medicare is exactly where it was in the mid-1990s when it was considered totally radical. And now it's considered too liberal for the Republicans. Yeah, so haven't we seen this giant shift in the spectrum?
We have, but the most dramatic shift has been among Republicans. Remember that this is a party that now wants to say that everything in healthcare reform, in President Obama's healthcare reform, is outrageous and radical and socialist. The biggest piece of it is actually cutting the cost of Medicare. That should be something that Republicans agree with and stand up for. Instead, they try and pretend that it's socialist and out of the mainstream when it's exactly what they had been preaching from the Gingrich period onwards. As you suggested, David Gregory's question was not peripheral. It wasn't a gotcha. This is what Republicans have nailed their colors to. This is what they have voted for. It is totally on point and right at the heart of this debate about what government should do, what our obligations are to each other. So this is what they should be thinking about. And for Gingrich, he's very familiar with this subject. It's not like he came to healthcare last week.
Hey, Alex, I want to show you a video put together by the DNC. They want to hit Gingrich on this and of course, all the Republicans as well. Let's watch it first and get your reaction.
On Sunday, Republican presidential candidate Newt Gingrich said this.
I don't think right-wing social engineering is any more desirable than left-wing social engineering.
On Monday, the Republicans and the right wing fought back.
He did nothing less than attack a sacred cow in the Republican Party.
With allies like that, who needs the left?
The attack on Paul Ryan. Folks, don't ask me to explain this.
So on Tuesday night, this happened.
I made a mistake.
Newt learned the hard way. Ending Medicare is the new GOP litmus test.
Alex, are what they're doing here really not going after Gingrich, but making sure all of the other Republican candidates have to stick to the Ryan plan, which is disastrously unpopular?
Absolutely. I mean, as Richard said, this is a gift to the Democrats. I mean, you look at what happened to Paul Ryan when he was out in the country selling this plan, and you had these riotous town halls. The Democrats loved that. This is only furthering that. I mean, the idea, I mean, I think to the earlier points, look, this idea that somehow this was a gotcha question for Newt Gingrich, this is something that he should have been prepared for. This is a bedrock social program that the Republicans are proposing to drastically alter. To not be prepared for that, or to pretend that somehow he's a blushing bride on this issue, I think is a huge stretch. And again, Jon Stewart pointed this out. That was his 35th appearance on Meet the Press. This guy is not new to this game.
Right, and everybody calls him brilliant. I think he is very, very far from that. But Richard Wolffe and Alex Wagner, thank you both for joining us tonight. Great conversation as always.
Thanks, Jen.